think WuWa needs to bring back companion quests. Let's talk about it. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So in my opinion, 3.1 was easily the best story that Wuthering Waves has ever produced, and it was probably the first time that WuWa managed to make me feel similarly to how I feel when I play some really peak PGR stories. So there has been some amazing development in the story, and I think that if we can continue going forward with a story that is even half as good as 3.1, we are in for a real treat. That is amazing. I am really happy with how good the main story has become, and I seriously hope that going forward it can continue to be even just a little bit as good as that. So, I am very happy with the recent main story. I have no issues there. Amazing. But one thing that I do think WuWa needs to bring back in particular is companion quests. Now, I know that not everybody is really going to care about this, and it's not exactly for the reason that you may think. No, I don't think we need companion quests back because of 3.0. I didn't necessarily have an issue with Linny's quest. In fact, I thought it was pretty good and her character writing was pretty good. I also enjoyed Mornier's quest, and I didn't necessarily have an issue with either of those. I should mention now at the very start of the video, there is definitely going to be spoilers for both of the 3.0 quests and the 3.1 quests going throughout this video, so if you haven't played either of those and you don't want to be spoiled, I would just stop the video here. 3, 2, 1, okay, now I'm going to continue. I do think there was some world building in the Mornier quest with the Roya tribe, so that was nice. And ultimately, 3.1 did deliver a crud ton of amazing lore bombs, so all around I feel like the world building has been compensated for by 3.1 at the very least. So my issue isn't exactly with character lore being in the main quests. Sometimes it can help with a character's development. That is completely fine. I am more so bringing up this point of criticism because 3.1 has made me actually care about the WuWa story, and now I actually want to see it be the best it can be, because now I actually think it's good. So, with that in mind, I think companion quests could actually serve a pretty important role, and that is building up side characters. Now, I don't think that every single WuWa character needs a companion quest. A unit like Imeth or Galbrena has already had plenty of main story exposure, and we got all of their lore during the main quest, so there is no need for a supplementary quest. I am more so making this video because of one particular unit, Chisa. There have been some people pointing out how it's kind of a shame that in 3.0, a lot of her big character moments were just off-screened. And you know what easily would have solved this? A companion quest. If there was simply a side quest after the events of 3.0 first half that just allowed you to hang out with Chisa and resolve any leftover ties of her character, that would have been a really easy way to wrap up the character and resolve her core conflict without taking up space in the main quest line. They don't have to include these side characters in the main quest if they don't want to, or if they only have minor roles to serve, but by making companion quests for these characters, you can very easily wrap up any loose ends that these units may have, and Chisa's one that quite a few people were upset about, because she is very popular. A lot of people really liked her, and there was a good crowd of people that enjoyed 2.8, so it was a shame for a bunch of people who liked Chisa to see that this character just kind of got sidelined, and is sort of just randomly appearing in Lahai Roy cutscenes here and there, without actually doing much. So I think that a dedicated companion quest for someone like that, who just seemingly isn't really going to do much from here on out, would be nice. Now, this obviously isn't integral to the story being good. I'm more so just saying, hey, this would be cool if we got this again. Because the last companion quest we got, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was Shakona's. And that was actually a pretty good companion quest that was able to wrap up some loose ends when it came to some of the plot lines in Renacita. So all around, these supplementary quests aren't a bad idea, and they're also just a nice way for you to learn the character's lore if their lore does not directly fit into your main quest. And it's not like we constantly need companion quests or anything like that. They put a lot of effort into the main quests, and I acknowledge that. They're already doing a lot of work as is when it comes to story-related content. And you can especially see that reflected in 3.1, because not only were the visuals good this time, but we actually got writing quality that could match up to the level of said visuals. So all around, I think the story is in a good position now, and I do understand that they might just not have the time to make companion quests, or they'd rather just put all of their resources into main quests, and that's fine. But I do think that these companion quests are not a bad way to just resolve some characters. It's what they did before, and honestly, it was a very decent way to go about it. You could argue that they just haven't really had the need to do a companion quest in a long time, and Chisa's just more of a recent case, And you know what? Fair enough, I can understand that. After Shakona, we got Cardathea, Lupa, Frolova, Augusta, Yuno, Galbrena, Choyuwen, Chisa, Linny, Mornier, and then Imeth. Of all of those characters, I would say the two characters that are still unresolved at the moment would be Chisa and Choyuwen. But the thing with Choyuwen, if you've done his quest, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay, his was more like setup for the future. I am hoping they remember to return to that character and bring him back whenever Geshu Lin is relevant again, so I can forgive that because Choyuwen's quest was set up for something that I personally find quite exciting, so that's fine. With Chisa, she had her 2.8 story, and then she just kind of didn't really have a proper resolution to her character. And now that is a perfect opportunity to just slide in a companion quest. Now, I understand that some people feel like they would also be good so that we can prevent situations like 3.0 Linny Quest, where the entire quest just feels like it's a character's lore. Now, I will say I didn't necessarily have a huge problem with that, because I don't really mind a character's lore being in the main quest, as long as it's fully resolved and it's related to what's going on. I can agree more world building would have been good, and I do think you could have cut out a lot of her lore, and the overall main story of Lahai Roy wouldn't have changed that much. But all around, I'm mostly fine with it. I didn't really have super big expectations for the WuWa story at that point, so I didn't really care. After 3.1 though, I do believe we're probably going to have more of a set structure, and going forward, there will be some plot development in relation to Lahai Roy's main story all around. So I don't think anything like 3.0 first half is going to happen again, but even so, if it contributes to a character's development, I can generally forgive it. I think this is more so just a nice way to supplement characters that just aren't able to finish their entire arc within one patch, or for characters that are simply not really relevant enough to be brought back into the main story, but there's still something to finish up with them, and it would also make the fans of that character a lot happier. Companion quests are also simply just a nice additional thing to do in my opinion. It's more fun content. And now, like I said, WuWa already puts a lot of effort into its main quest, so I can understand if they just literally don't have the time to spare to make companion quests anymore. That's understandable, fair enough. But if there is even a chance that they have the time to spare, or they have the resources to spare, then it would be nice to see these happen again. Because even if we don't constantly see them, and even if they're just kind of sporadically spread throughout the patches and not every character gets one, that's fine. But I think spending a little bit more time with certain side characters wouldn't be bad at all. And I understand there's just going to be some characters where you simply can't really do that and make it make sense. For example, how could you justify a companion quest with Frolova? Our teamwork with her ended, we're just not on good terms with that character. How would we realistically make a companion quest there? Obviously they could come up with something, but you get my point. I understand that it's just not something that's going to work for every character. And I do see a lot of people that just aren't really happy with what happened to Chisa, and she's popular too. I don't necessarily think it would be bad for Kuro Games to make a companion quest for that character. And yes, you could argue she technically already had one in 2.8, she already had her main story, but I feel like you're missing the point in that case. Those were classified as main quests. If you want to be really pedantic about it, Chisa hasn't gotten a companion quest yet. The door is still open for her to be expanded more upon as a character, and I think that's what's important here. And if they wanted to expand more upon older characters too, they could easily just make Companion Quest Part 2 for some of these characters that take place way later, or just reveal new things about their lore going forward. I do want to clarify, I do not think this is some major issue. I am not sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, the Wuthering Waves story sucks because we don't have companion quests. That is not the point I was trying to put across in this video whatsoever, and I could not be happier with the current Wuthering Waves story. I am more so just saying this would be a nice additional supplement to the story and would be an excellent way to make sure that side characters aren't completely forgotten and they aren't completely brushed over after their main patch ends. Because obviously main characters like Imeth are probably going to get amazing development going forward, at least based on the setup that we got in 3.1. The main story of Lahai Roy is likely going to be saving our daughter, which I absolutely cannot wait for, and that is going to be amazing. And maybe Chisa does show up and do something within these patches, but I personally kind of doubt it because she was always more of a side character. So in this particular case, I feel like she would be an excellent candidate for one, or even just a short additional story. If they don't want to make a full companion quest, they can also just make something that's like half an hour long that gives some actual scenes that allows the character to be finished. And I need to add something else. I don't care about Chisa. I don't really care about that character, like, at all. I am not a Chisa fan. I think she looks good, but I could not give less of a crap about her story. So this is just me giving genuine feedback in relation to the existence of companion quests in general, and I've seen the frustrations of other people that would personally have liked her character to be handled better. So I don't care about Chisa. I don't really have any stake in whatever the hell they do with her. I just think that it would be good to do this for her fans, of which there are plenty, because she's a popular character. I feel like the fact that she got a paid bike skin along with Yuno and Imeth kind of speaks for itself. She is a very well-liked unit, so I don't even think she will be a bad choice for one. And I do think the Wuthering Wave story is in a really good position at the moment. I think that if they just never make a companion quest again, it's likely still going to be very good, and their main characters are still going to be very well developed from here on out if they continue to have writing quality even half as good as Imeth's. Even Galbrena, who in my opinion wasn't as well written as Imeth, still had pretty good writing. Like, even before 3.1, we have been seeing good character writing, so I don't necessarily think this is a make it or break it thing, and I really want to emphasize that. I just think this is a really nice way to address side characters. And it's going to help people who really like particular side characters not feel like their favorite has disappeared after a patch. I just think it will be a really neat supplement, and I do not think it is necessary whatsoever. Like I said, I don't really care about Chisa, but it would be a nice thing for them to do going forward, just so that nobody feels left out. And we can avoid a similar situation like this again in the future, where a character simply just feels unfinished. Hopefully this video was able to tell you why I personally think companion quests should return. This has been Juice, signing out, and definitely let me know what you think in this regard, because I am personally very invested in the WuWa story after 3.1, and I do definitely want to see it be the best it can be.